Testing, 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 testing. So I think I got this thing going. Hello, everyone. I just wanted to jump in and do a quick little market update. I know if a lot of you have seen me on Twitter or in some of the spaces, you may have heard me mention my trading method. So I'll try to do some updates here, and depending on how much engagement and questions and feedback I get, I'll try to keep up some of this content. But yeah, the just looking at the zoomed in, we're on a daily chart here. So again, I mostly either trade off daily, weekly, or above, right? So we'll take a look since we have some action here at the daily right quick. But we can see that we had a break of the 19. I've been on the 19. I say 18 a lot because I used to previously use the 18, but it's not much difference if you use either or. But we had a break of the 19 here, which is an early entry point, right? Because it for the people who are not as conservative. And what you'll watch for is if for any reason price were to lose this 19, right, you'll be jumping right back out. The entry point, I believe where I was at was like 33.65. So I basically, you can use a limit order. And then if price was to decline back to that 33.65, it would put you out and you would get this opportunity to gain more XRP as this price declines. If it doesn't, it stays strong, we'll just be continuously riding it up and looking how it performs on the next important resistance, which would be the weekly 19 EMA. So today we had an entry point for the people who are not as conservative, waiting on the weekly entry. Just be advised that if for any reason this turns right, because you're going to get an obvious resistance here at this higher moving average. So I'm looking at this 36 point where it'll be very interesting. So just, yeah, if you took this as an entry point, continue to ride this and see if we get a rejection here. But if at any time this price drags this 18 up a little higher, just beware to jump back out at wherever the price meets the 18 if it starts to decline. So that's the important thing, and how to use my method, and how I use it at least, and what to be on the lookout for. Um, Same thing would apply to some of the other assets, and I'll just kind of quickly show that. But I do want to go back here for any new person that's kind of viewing my material. I have all the appropriate EMAs up already and plugged in. We see the last kind of price movement we really had. We had a little quick break here on a green candle. It quickly lost, hovered around a few times, and this is why I don't trade on the. I don't not to say I don't trade, but what you have to look for if you are trading on the daily is you get more trades where you have to be mindful and engage in this activity, because it's all about discipline and making sure that you catch each and every pass as price is passing this particular 19 exponential moving average. So your discipline is going to determine your performance. Here, you would just have more activity to actually make these trades. I trade over on BitTrue a lot of times because the trades are less than a penny or 10 cents, sometimes depending on how much you're moving. But it's real cheap to execute a trade over there, even with some decent liquidity in your trades. The important thing is we see price lost to 19 here, right? So that would have been a clear signal to go out. And you would have gained a whole lot of XRP by catching that move, right? Because it came all the way down here. We had another entry point. You exited at the same price. You didn't lose anything because it rejected off of this top moving average. Um, and then now we're back above. So everything should be back in if you're using this daily as an indicator. But the important thing, as I said here, we're going to look for a resistance at this 36. And I want to let y'all in on a little interesting phenomenon, right? Is if we go over to the weekly for our conservative traders who don't want to catch as many trades and wants to catch the longer trend, because if the weekly trends, you basically want to be in, right, at that point, and riding up those great gains when you get these kind of breaks that you get here, breaking 18, it takes you on those lovely moves. But as we can see here, right, our 18 is not broken for a long-term uptrend until you get way here at like 50 cents. So there's a whole lot of room between this 34, 33 that we're at now, and breaking the daily trend in between, turning it into any long-term trend. So of course you can extrapolate a lot of things from that, in that these daily trends could turn back down before it ever breaks this 50 range here, 51 range here, and we can see lower lows, or anything can happen, right? Because there's a big gap here before we get to this break, which is the important break, because it's going to give you the longer term trend. Otherwise, you're just going to be having this swing volatility up and down, up and down, up and down, which could eventually lead to higher prices as well as lower prices, right? So, I don't know why my 9 is not showing up over here. Just a moment. I see what got stuff taken up. Let's add everybody back so I don't get confused. All right, but yeah, once we get our other ones back, we can see that the 9 is dropping right here on the weekly trend at about 42. So we had a little gap in between here, right, and 36, which was on the daily, and then we had this 9 here on the 42. So there's lots of resistances in between there, of course, but the important thing is you don't get a long-term trend turn, right? So we can call it an actual bull market until you break this 51 or so, right? And of course, these moving averages are going to change at the time, but this is just the current price you would have to break in order to get a long-term trend to the upside. Daily trends are good if you're trying to get some quick turns in and out or get some early entries. But as far as any sustained trend turn, right, we're gonna have to wait until here. So I just wanted to quickly show that it does work, of course, as always with any asset. So we'll take a quick look in at Bitcoin. Let's see what Bitcoin is doing. All right, so here on the weekly, we see that our long-term trend for Bitcoin is not broken until right about here at 31,000. So we could have a lot of things go on in the meantime, between time, as far as the daily is concerned. But right now we see where the important, as well as this important break here at 26,911. So this is an interesting thing of why you need to have these moving averages up, just to get perspective, even if you're not a trader, right? And I'll zoom in here to show you why. A lot of people are probably getting excited today because of this green candle. It did get above the 3, right? So that's one of your first resistances that you need to get above, as we can see how it was acting here as it was going down. Um, but we have the 9 attempting to cross this long 200 moving average, EMA, right? So if this 9 successfully crosses that, which means that we will probably lose this 3. Today is late in the week. I think it's today is Thursday, if I'm not mistaken, right? So between Thursday and Sunday, if price doesn't continue to move up on this green candle to prevent this blue line from crossing this 200, then it's going to create downward pressure, and we're probably going to go back down in this range, if not test some lower lows, right? So I can see that we have a looming cross that could put downward pressure on price, and we have two resistances kind of matching each other. So it would have to defeat this 209 if it were to even reach here at the same time. Otherwise, if it stays strong enough, it could reject this 9, push it up, and then would have to defeat, this 200 before it attempted the 9. But we do have something of caution going on here, because this 9 crossing could give us downward momentum, even though a lot of people are probably excited right now about the upward movement that we're getting. So it's a very kind of bearish trap for those who are not using these indicators the way that I use them, and they're not getting any definitive indicators in how to move and when to move. But they definitely have a cross that's lurking there that I would be very cautious of. If they entered on the daily, because I'm sure we got some action over here on the daily. Let's go down and look. Yep. So if they entered on this daily, they're seeing a little cross here that's giving them this momentum that we're currently experiencing. The blue could eventually cross over this yellow as well. Can't really tell what's going on with this solid candle. Let me go to hollow. Yeah, so we got the 3 that's kind of breaking now. If it continues, eventually could drag the 9 up. That would give the momentum to keep testing these other moving averages as it breaks through. Um, So yeah, they got a good early entry as momentum has changed here on the daily. But if you did take this entry point, which is a good entry point, I will add, right? I don't go under that for the 4s. That's more of a day trading, right? Just taking points. But even on a long-term scale, if you use this daily as your entry point, just know that your exit point right now would be back at this 2917, right? So it's a great place to enter, but just know to set you a limit order to jump back out so that you at least lose nothing, right? In the process of going up testing these moving averages, right? And then if price loses this 18, you need to be back out and gaining more Bitcoin as we figure out what the market is going to do. But you can see historically how exit here, because it violated the 19, became very profitable, right? We could go back, of course, in history, as I've done many times, and show exactly how. Oh, well, to hell. Exactly. So, all right, well, that thing there is acting a little funny. I'm gonna go on to another little part of this um, presentation and show y'all some other interesting information. Okay, yeah, there we go. So now it wants to move. But yeah, it just shows you how it's breaking down. You got profit, broke up, you make some money, broke down, you made some more Bitcoin. Like it's very, very consistent. And if y'all interested in more of those details, I'd be happy to cover them. Just hit me on Twitter, comment here, and I'll go more in depth into it, right? Another quick thing I wanted to cover here. Let's see, does it change tabs? I need to know if it's changing tabs. Sorry here, y'all. Yeah, stop view tab. Hold on. Just a moment. I want to change tabs, you all. I'm gonna stop sharing that. Share. All right. So as soon as another chart comes up, I want to go over some things here just real quickly. But yeah, so this is cryptocompare.com. It's a site that I often use to get some very important information about volumes in the market. Um, so on this particular tab, if I can get back to it, it's the right one. Oh no, this is it. Um, I want you to complete to particularly focus in on the direct volume column, right? And you can hit here, and it'll give you a description of what it tries to indicate the direct volume column is. But I have been using it for a very long time, and what it brings out to me, most importantly, is view this direct column as a means to ascertain what inflows are coming to crypto on a daily basis or on a daily time frame. So here, Bitcoin is often a leader, and so we see it at 1.5 billion, and so it's nothing unusual. Ethereum 600 million, tethers traditionally run a lot higher, but we do see some money flowing out of tether and into other stable coins right now. And so it's kind of trending down from a total volume perspective, but this is pretty usual for its place in time. Here's the interesting thing, right? We see Solana coming in here at almost $200 million. So these are the kind of things that make my ears perk up, because we know that, you know, you have to just ask yourself, who are these people who are putting all of this money into Solana today, right? Particularly when there's a down market, prices are pretty much going down, the overall economic environment is down, but yet Solana is significantly kind of high volume as far as inflow volumes, right? XRP is hanging in here as kind of your third or fourth crypto behind Solana at 70. And then you start to kind of see where the new money is kind of placing itself on this kind of daily trend basis, right? So today's trend is Poly at 64 million, and it kind of shows you how it influences, right? So we see over here it's up 7%, right? Because the new money that's coming in and it's showing up in this column, right? So Avalanche, kind of same thing, is coming in here high, pumping Avalanche up above normal, right, for the rest of the increases in the market, right? Same thing, SHIB's coming in here at 32 million, up 9%, right? Those 31 million, up 3%. So these are where your inflows are coming in at. Interesting enough, Binance coin down here at 24 million, but it's kind of ranked what, third, or yeah, and market cap among cryptos stablecoin related. So this is kind of a down volume for Bitcoin. I mean, our Binance coin, and we kind of see it reflected in this lackluster performance at 1%. Cosmos running kind of high because it's not a high market cap crypto, but it's got high inflows, reflecting in its 5%. Chainlink, same thing, right? Not high as far as total market cap, but high in its inflows, getting it a good 4%. Um, Yearn's bringing in some money. Waves is bringing in some money. Polkadot's bringing in some money. Here's the interesting thing here, right? Litecoin is traditionally a top performing asset, but its volumes have consistently been dropping in this category for some time. And Litecoin is kind of performing how we see dying projects perform. This is going down, 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 down over a long trend. It's not keeping up with its averages in the market. But yeah, so that's the interesting thing I wanted to share just right quick. So you can always pop over here. It's just crypto compare. And you can hit the little thing here and order it so that it goes from highest to least, and then check out the inflows of what's pumping, right? And if you pay attention to it sometimes, right, and you know what these are looking like today, but all of a sudden some random coin just pops up here in this kind of area, top 5, top 6 area, and it's a small market cap coin. If you catch it early enough, if you're that kind of opportunistic trader, right? You could catch a nice little run because it'll jump in here maybe at 75, million, and then start running 30, 40%, right? In one of them pump and dump kind of scenarios. But even if you're not, trying to catch it, you can look at it, and it's a very interesting phenomenon that I see often in this space. Um, I want to be able to change these tabs and see if I can do that or not because I want to go over a few tabs. I just keep sharing them the only way I know how. So just a moment here. So I've been tracking some volumes over corridors as well, and it's been showing some interesting phenomena. So one of the things I'll quickly show here is the Korean corridor, as if we kind of know how these corridors stack up in XRP. Korea is like second in volume behind just Tether. So when you come over here, you find that XRP in the Korean corridor is running third, only behind Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? I find that to be very interesting because we see that, as we start crossing the world, you want to know how liquid is Bitcoin, right? Particularly in corridors that are known to have utility, right? Because it tells you that its utility is growing there, as well as its liquidity based on, users, for lack of word, speculating or using XRP as a store of value alternative currency for themselves, right? But Korea has long since played a very significant role in XRP. For a lot of people who were in the market back in 2017, 2018, they know the games that Coin Market Cap and etc. were playing with the Korean volumes to kind of make us look a little more, or XRP's volumes look a little more insignificant. But it's long been a big player, and it is very liquid in the Korean corridor. So I go to the top exchanges. This one happens to be Upbit. So we can see it's a very highly liquid exchange, and XRP is showing to be very liquid there. Only second to, like I said, third to Bitcoin and Ethereum. Let's see, in the volume here, only behind Ethereum by like 2 billion won, right? So it's very close. It could easily be second there, but trailing Bitcoin. If we go over to some of the other corridors, particularly some of the ones that we know are associated with um, ODL and Ripple's product activity for utility, we can see some interesting things. So I'm going to go over to the next corridor I have here. Where is it at? We'll go to Bitso. If I can, excuse me. I know I'm going to go to Bitstamp first. Bitstamp is going to be the Euro corridor. I can get to this thing. There we go. So we've seen a lot of activity lately in the Euro corridor. That's why I wanted to pick this one. And it's been correlating with the activity in the Mexican corridor. And Ripple put out some activity about opening up a new channel, corridor of usage between them. So as we look over here, bam, very highly liquid exchange. This is Bitstamp. But XRP is being used so much in Europe right now, and it's so liquid in Europe right now that it's exceeding Bitcoin and Ethereum volumes. And this has been consistent lately. So it's not just a little runoff, right? But yeah, we're over here at 18 million. Bitcoin's down here at 14, right? So XRP is very liquid in this European corridor, outpacing even Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? So I know a lot of times a lot of FUD and stuff gets said about XRP in a negative light, but when you actually track the volumes, right, you see the health of these assets as you go across the globe, and either how they're being used by companies and enterprises or how they're being used by the citizens as an alternative currency. But in this European corridor, we see that it's very highly liquid and being used, right? And I want to jump to some other corridors, and I don't want to waste a lot of time. So let me see if I can quickly cycle through these. All right, so let's jump over to, you know what? I may be able to just do my entire screen, and I'll just keep changing what I'm looking at. Let's see if that works a little better. Entire screen. What does the window look like? Hold on. No, let's go entire screen. Sorry about the delay. I'm trying to do all this in real time and figure out how these tools kind of work here. Let's see. Go with, let's see what pops up here. So should be sharing my entire screen is what it said. So we'll see how that turns out. Yep, I believe that is working. So now I'm going to just change tabs, and it should change with me. So if you're looking at this now, I'm in the Mexican. Oh, that's the European corridor still. Excuse me. Let's go over. So now this puts you in the Mexican corridor. Bitso, right? Highest, biggest, most liquid exchange. And bam, XRP again is outpacing Bitcoin. We're at 318 million pesos or whatever that is. Bitcoin's 106. So we even have a significant lead over Bitcoin, but Bitcoin is running your averages, right, that it normally runs. It's right here, but with Ethereum's doing this thing, right? So you have, your Litecoin, your Manas and Bats if you want to look at some of the other things that are there. But the important thing is in the Mexican corridor, XRP is even exceeding Bitcoin volume. So as we're comparing assets around the world, how they're performing and how they're being used, right? XRP stacks up very well, right? And we're only just through a couple of corridors, but as we see, Mexico is booming, right? Jump on over to next one. Let's see what we got here. Next corridor is Japan. We go over to Japan. We know that SBI and SBI Remit, and there's a lot of people that are over there doing activity with XRP. But we see here Bitcoin is, of course, your leader, right? Ethereum is still running very well, but just right behind it, right, we find XRP 783 million. I forgot Japanese yen, won. Yeah, I think it is. Um, it's right behind Ethereum 812, and of course a little significant lead for Bitcoin. But outside of that, right, we see that again, XRP is highly liquid, highly preferred, even within the Japanese region amongst all other assets, right? So performance wise, right, XRP is very much holding up. It's important thing that I want people to understand as we look across some of these different corridors. And as you hear different narratives across Twitter, YouTube by different individuals, just kind of always remember what the actual numbers are. Is what I'm trying to encourage here. I think this particular pair here is Tether, right? So Tether is kind of the big player in a lot of these cryptos, right? This is where the majority of volume is being um, going on, right? Now, the interesting thing about this is we see Bitcoin is the big leader over here in Tether, right? We have Ethereum, Binance is bleeding into Tether, USDC coin is bleeding in and out of Tether, right? Going on. We see this Solana thing that I often talk about. Like, okay, so why is all of these inflows going into Solana, right? And we see it being highly prevalent here in Tether. Even this Burger coin, right? That's what I say about those outliers, right? So we know Tether is used or speculated by a lot of us to manipulate this market, for lack of a better word. But when you see things like this Burger coin, like what Burger coin is running very high volumes in comparison to the 400 assets that's on this chain, right? And it's causing a 37% increase, right? Like somebody's dumping a whole lot of money playing with this Burger token for whatever reason right now, right? But it shows up in the inflows. BNB over here is pretty typical, right? It's a fourth asset in the market, so that's pretty typical. Matic has got some additional increases. There's indicated it's 7%. Like here's one of the unknown tokens, Vivid, right? Whatever. It's running 26%, right? Because it's in this high volume category among top assets in Tether. So somebody's dumping a whole lot of Tether into this VIDT, dumps it, way out of its range of assets that it should be among, and it shows up as a 26% increase, right? XRP is kind of way down here, right? But the interesting thing that I always find about that and why you brought Tether up is Tether has always been one of the least influenced assets by, I mean, XRP has been one of the least influenced assets by Tether. So what price action we do have, right, is being, denominated in more of our USD pair as well as the active corridors that I kind of previously went over, which is giving us our price over the broader ecosystem. But Tether for a lot of these other assets is this major price driver. And so you kind of see this activity. XRP typically, if it was consistent with the rest of the market, right, even over here on Tether, should be coming up here in this range of assets, right, somewhere at least, right. And so we can see that the big discrepancy from 190 million down here to this just 85 is showing how the players of Tether are preferring these other assets over XRP. Is my opinion on that. Let's just jump over here. I got maybe a couple more, and then I'll shut this down. But let's see here. This is I pulled this up because we had some news today about Bitso going into Colombia. Um, so I pulled up Colombia just to kind of check on how things are going on Colombia. And interesting enough, even though an exotic corridor in the world, um, we find that XRP is second preferred crypto as far as activity is going on over there, with some good activity, only second to Bitcoin, right? But even over Ethereum. So they don't keep a lot of pairs on this particular site. It doesn't surprise me that a lot of Colombians are interacting with USD, right? Because just one of those things, right? Dollar is the world reserve currency, so this makes sense to me. Bitcoin kind of makes sense. It's normally one unless there's some um, real big activity from either enterprise standpoint. But seeing as we're not sure what that enterprise is and it's new, it's just interesting that XRP up and it moved up to second as we were sitting here talking. XRP is now the second preferred crypto, um, yeah, in Colombia behind Bitcoin, right? So yeah, it's wherever you go, XRP is performing very well all across the world. And I just thought that people could use these tools and kind of keep follow along the way that I am, tracking these volumes and activities and seeing, what we're dealing with, right? So, um, yeah, like I said, when you come back over here over the market, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, XRP, right? It, XRP should be among those top as you go through those corridors. But as we've seen, like with some corridors, some of these other coins that are being highly influenced by Tether or even in some cases USD, right? If we come over here to the USD corridor, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Tether, Solana, then XRP, right? So XRP is performing very well from a dollar standpoint, um, but we still see these outliers like Solana popping up, um, and then some of these other extreme outliers like Atoms and other things that are just kind of pumping today. But XRP does very well in its USD corridor, but you do see some of the same activity that kind of is showing up, you know, in overall market caps and lack of investments and where the money is coming from. So yeah, these are just some good tools for you all to kind of use, or look at or consider. Um, yeah, because it could give you some interesting information to see again where your inflows are coming from, um, as well as how these assets are performing across the world. I guess I could quickly kind of show you. Um, I'll use Bitcoin. Let's see if these pages change quick enough. But if you want to see how these assets kind of stack up overall, in comparison to how XRP looks, right? We could go over here to Bitcoin. I'll try to see if it'll load fast enough. Yeah, it might end up being a little slower than I want to wait. Okay, well here, popping up at this analysis tab and wait again. Again, if anyone has any questions they would like to ask, you can always hit me up over on Twitter. If y'all comment in this video, I'll definitely answer it to the best of my ability, or we can have a dialogue and try to figure out what it is if I don't have an immediate answer. But yeah, I like to help people, and I learn a lot by helping people. So it's a two-way street. All right, it should pop up here real quick, and then I'll just kind of end this. But I did want to show a quick comparison of how other assets, and I would like to really show a lot more of the assets other than Bitcoin. Go to like Ethereum, Solano, Cardano, BNB, right, and see how, um, by volume by currency, right, where the inflows are that are influencing, and that is influencing and giving the price action is creating its price. All right, so we got it popped up. Let's go. Well, that didn't really turn out the way that I wanted, and I don't have a whole lot of patience. Oh boy, here, right when I get ready to say that. Let's move down. Okay, so stops right there. We can see that immediately Tether is 48% of all total volumes into Bitcoin, right? Oh my goodness. You gonna stay there or what? All right, so that was 48%. We see here in dollars, 15%. Um, we see here in Binance USD 13%, USDC coin 3%. Australia is pretty interested in Bitcoin overall by volumes. It's 3.4%. This QC is I think a stable coin on like a Chinese exchange, 3%. Korea is running in here at 3%. Japan at 2%. Euro at 2%. So we know how XRP stacked up in Euro, Japan, and Korea. So we were XRP was one here, two here, one here. We didn't go to Australia, but I know that it's a significant XRP is a significant player there. It's an ODL corridor, right? So in the corridors where Bitcoin is running the majority of its volume, right? Nothing else is even 1% or more of total Bitcoin volume. XRP stacks up very well, right, against Euro, Japan, Korea, Australia, right? Where Bitcoin is highly exceeding XRP performance is in dollar denominated, right, pairs, right? So whether it's Tether, USD, Binance USD, or USDC, Bitcoin is by far leading. But we see that by these numbers, Bitcoin is centralizing around the dollar, right? So it's almost like a Trifflin dilemma, so to speak, right? You know, it's becoming, as the dollar performs, as the Bitcoin performs, right? There's this tied correlation, and it's because in this case, the mass majority of this volume is dollar denominated, right? So this is basically, we'll round that up, 50%, 62 or 3, 76, you know, we're talking about basically 80% of all Bitcoin volume is denominated in dollars in one form or fashion, right? So this is a highly dollar denominated coin. Any way that you look at it, this is just the volume. This is not me speaking that, right? But this is the things that I look at and what I'm watching over time. But if I were to contrast that with XRP, um, just kind of quickly show y'all this. Does that make sense if I don't contrast it? But I know it's going to take a while. Let me get back over here. Let's see if I can back up. Well, I kind of figured that was going to happen. Oh, let's give it a second, see what happens. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, so bam, this is kind of what I wanted to show you in case it messes up real quick. But here, USDT is only 42%. Our second, right, instead of being another denominated coin, is Korea at 18%. So we have a non-dollar denominated coin. Of course, USD is coming in here at 14%. BUSD, which has been a recent player that has popped up here in the higher volumes, is at 4%. But then we go to Euro, right? Euro is 4% of our volumes, right? Um, we have Bitcoin, of course, at 4% of 3%, right? We got Euros in here at 4%. We got Mexico at 3%. We got Japan at 2%. We got GDP, Philippines, India, Turkey, Australia. So across the board, right, XRP has a more distributed um, volume by currency, right, than Bitcoin's heavily US denominated influence, right? This is kind of more of a worldly distributed volume by currency than the highly influenced Bitcoin is all dollar denominated for the most part, right? So, I mean, we're going, even if I was just could scroll up down a little more, right? Yeah, you see that XRP is very widely distributed. These ODL corridors are definitely, increasing here. So we got places like Philippines, but yeah, Turkey, Australia, uh, this is South Africa, Malaysia, Brazil. Yeah, it just goes on and on and on, right? So it's very, very distributed, and it's reach and liquid in all of these, exotic to even larger corridors. So I just wanted to share that information with everyone right quick in case you never kind of had it presented to you in that way. Remind you that we have had some breaks in the 18 or 19 exponential moving averages on the daily. So if you did take those entries, um, you know, way to go. But just remember that you do need to be watching or have some type up a limit order, and so that if it loses this momentum, you can go back out and you don't end up taking a loss, and we keep it always on the positive side. So we're waiting for the weekly break. Of course, that's going to be our big thing we're watching for. We also noticed that the DXY here is 107 is still highly in its bullish trend. So I predict that even though we're seeing some increases in crypto right now, we still have a way to go before our actual trend turns um, for anything very significant increases. So we'll watch for this dollar to cool off. But yep, I'll go ahead and kind of shut this down now. I hope you all can find this information useful. And again, I would love to have any comments. Share the information so other people can also get an opportunity to check this information out as too. And I'll get better at presenting it in a more entertaining and better um, manner as we go along. But right now, I just found I had the time and I wanted to make sure that I got the information to you so in case it can benefit somebody. So y'all have a great day. Stay safe wherever you are.